Welcome back. It's day 3 of my virtual book tour with my book Reconciled. And I hope that you are enjoying your time so far, watching the videos and the interviews and really diving into these 3 chapters and learning maybe things that have come up for yourself in your own situation or story, or maybe it resonates with you because you know someone who's been through a separation, divorce, has a blended family again. There's over half of all churches population in their congregation are all blended families. That's a really high percentage of people who are getting remarried and starting blended families again and having different blended family relationships. And I see it as blended families as a blessed opportunity for growth and deepening our relationships with people that are close to us, and maybe they're not close to us. It's an opportunity for us to get to know them, to really practice seeing the loving essence in them, and being there for them and practicing our empathy with them. That brings me to our next theme today, which is day 3 of my virtual book tour. And the theme today is self-love and nurturing, and the nurturing our self-care in all of that. And those are all pieces of our self-love. I don't know about you, but I never knew what self-love was before my journey and being led to learn about spiritual psychology. If it was loving yourself, it was thought of as like a selfish, conceited self-love. And that's not the type of self-love that I'm talking about referring here. The self-love that I'm referring to is really loving us, loving all of who we are, loving everything about ourselves, and then putting that self-love into nurturing practices, daily practices, monthly practices that will help nurture our overall well-being. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in chapter 7 on self-love, one of the free chapters that you downloaded in my book. And again, before I do that, I just want to say, talk about some of the things that we have coming up today. So after you watch this video, I'm headed over to Canada again with my friend Allie Wilkes from the Soulful Stepmom and the Successful Step Couples Facebook pages, and she's going to be doing a live interview with me, so don't miss that. That's this morning at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's where I'm at, is Colorado. So don't miss that right after you watch this. And there might be a link later with a recording, so follow along, and I'm sure that will be in here somewhere where you can find that link to hopefully watch that recording if you missed it. And then my interviews today, I have 2 interviews that I did with readers who read my book. One is with C.K. Dorman, and the other is with Tisha Vacklin. And so you'll have a great opportunity to be able to go and click on those links in this page and watch my interview with each of them. And I'm really excited about my interview with them. Just a little bit of insight with Tisha. She and I go way a long ways back. She was the one who actually read my manuscript before it was published. And I asked her, do you think that I should publish this? She goes, absolutely, you should publish this. So her and I go way back. She also did a fundraising event for my book. Actually, it wasn't even published, and it was a manuscript. I was trying to raise funds to get it published. And so she threw this book fundraising event at her house. We invited some friends and my daughter sang at it. It was really great. My son was there. My mom was there. Maybe I'll plug in some videos of that event later on during this virtual book tour. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and start with self-love chapter today. That's what we're talking on, is self-love. And the quote at the top is, love your neighbor as yourself, Matthew 22:39. The next phase of my learning in school was self-love. I learned that loving me meant both loving my life and loving my whole being. After my divorce, I had found that I had more time for myself. When I was married, I was busy either taking care of the kids or working in my business, and sometimes both. And if you are a mom and have your own business, you know that it's difficult to find self-care when you're running your household and a business. I seldom found much time, if any, for me to be just with me. I realized that my unhappiness in my married life was partly because by that lack. When I'm not feeling good about myself and not taking care of me, it impacts the rest of my life. As Stephen Covey explains in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I must keep my own cup full before I can give to others freely. I'd never kept my cup full when I was married because I was busy trying to succeed in business or trying to be a good wife, trying to be a perfect mother. And how could I give of myself when I wasn't giving to myself? I didn't even know what to give to myself and at all. I didn't know what giving to myself was. In school, I learned how to fill my own cup, and with what. Perhaps you've learned to keep your cup full too. What have you found that helps keep your cup full? Keeping our cup full, especially as busy moms, is important to our health and our well-being. I've learned that if I don't take care of myself, no one else will. It's up to me to stay active and exercise regularly, eat healthy, get plenty of rest, do nice things for myself, relax, meditate, clear my mind, pray for guidance, have fun, and enjoy my life. I understand today that it's okay to have a healthy selfishness. So self-nurturing, I finally learned what giving to myself looks like. One of my assignments in school was to create and maintain a chart on self-nurturing. I set monthly goals for my spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional aspects of me, and I recorded what I did toward each goal each day. For example, to nurture my spiritual self, I meditated for 30 minutes in the morning, 6 days a week. For my physical self, I worked out in the gym twice a week after work. For my mental self, I created 3 affirmations. One was, I lovingly express my self-acceptance. That I read in the morning and when I awoke and at night before I went to bed. And I acknowledged myself for being aware of any judgments that I may have had. For my emotional self, at the end of the day, I acknowledge myself for making self-honoring choices, such as listening to my instinct, staying calm in the face of client complaints, making healthy eating choices, or completing my homework. I have begun to maintain self-nurturing habits. Meanwhile, through my daily prayers, I was given the strength and courage to change what I felt I couldn't do alone. I gradually learned to rely on a higher power for guidance in all areas of my life, my financial decisions, my relationship issues, and my communication listening skills. My body was improving from healthier food, regular exercise, and meditation. My relationship with God strengthened through my acceptance of what I was being led or guided by Spirit to do or say or heard. I learned to fill my cup. I began loving myself for being disciplined in my self-nurturing project. And I began valuing myself because I discovered that I was worth taking care of. Have you ever had a healthy selfishness? Do you find you're worth taking care of? I know you're worth taking care of. I know this because you're a child of God, like I am. And God loves his children. Maybe you've learned to fill your cup up with, and with what? And if so, good for you. It took me 35 years to figure out that it's okay to have a healthy selfishness. And that was, I was responsible for filling my own cup up. So I just want to again acknowledge and say how important it is for us to make sure that we nurture our own well-being and our self-care, and in the nurturing of our own self-care and is our loving ourselves. It's a way of us loving ourselves, who we are, taking care of it, making sure that our cups are filled. And it's us saying that we know we're worth our own time and effort to take care of. Just like we're moms, if you're a mom and you're watching this, we're nurturers in our families and the caretakers, with our husbands and our children, and sometimes our parents if they're elderly. And so we have to make that time for our own self-nurturing and our own self-care. It's part of us loving us. And so I really encourage you to take that time to read the in my book chapter on self-love and really learn a little bit more of those 4 sides: our physical well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being, and spiritual well-being. And I will talk about that a little bit more at the end. So again, this is day 3, only one more day left, day 4, until the end of the virtual book tour. Wow, we're like, maybe half, the 3/4 of the waypoint. But don't forget, tomorrow, day 4, I'm going to have a drawing for someone is going to receive a autographed copy of my book, Reconciled. Yay! And tomorrow, lots of good things. Last day, another Facebook Live. You'll have to stay tuned and to tomorrow to see where part of the country I'll be at tomorrow. So thank you again so much for joining me. And again, I wish you love, joy, and blessings in your life, with wherever you're at right now in your life, in your circumstances, in your situation. I just want to share with you, there's no coincidence that you are watching me today. And if you've watched the other videos on my virtual book tour, there's no coincidence you're here. You're here for a purpose. You're here for a message. What is that? I encourage you to go deep inside, to maybe pray and ask about it. Or maybe you already know, maybe I've said something today that that resonated with you, that spoke to your heart. And I just encourage you to follow that instinct, that feeling, and really be with that, and maybe pray about it and what that is for you and what a next step would be for you. So love, light, and joy and blessings to you. And I'll see you tomorrow on day 4.